If it's Friday night, say yeah, for it's another edition of Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Florio here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports. Delighted to have you with us as always. Joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. Um, our third partner in crime, of course, Michael Bullock, will not be joining us this evening for a very good and special reason. As of this hour, he is currently up at the University of Rhode Island, along with several of our dearest friends participating in the annual Special Olympics State Summer Games here in Rhode Island. And on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we wish him and our dear friends the very best of luck in all that they do. And I believe that they will represent us as only they can. They do each and every year, and I know this year will not be any exception or any year going forward. So we're gonna dedicate this show to you guys tonight. So this one's for you. So glad to have you with us this evening, and we only have a few things to get into this evening. Um, the best part is no hard time stories this week, so I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Lord, for that. So yeah, two hot stove stories and a big double main event. So without any further ado, let's get into the first of our hot stove stories. This one out of the NFL. And Kung Su is playing for another team in the NFL yet again. I believe this will be the fourth now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers made it official last Thursday, May 23rd, and Kung Su is coming to Tampa Bay. The team announced it agreed to terms with the veteran defensive tackle. Sue signed with the Bucs just 3 days after Tampa Bay parted ways with longtime defensive tackle Gerald McCoy, both top three defensive tackles from the 2010 draft. Sue is seen as an immediate on-field replacement for McCoy, but at a cheaper rate. While McCoy was owed $13 million in 2019 and $39 million through 2021, Sue is signing a one-year, $9.25 million deal that, with incentives, can be worth up to $10 million, per NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. ESPN first reported the terms. All in all, the Bucs are saving at least $3 million in cap space this season by swapping a 31-year-old All-Pro defensive tackle McCoy for a 32-year-old All-Pro defensive tackle and Kung Su. So that's the story. Sue has been more productive than McCoy over the length of their careers. Take a look at their careers as of 2018. Kung Su, 56 sacks, 166 quarterback hits, 107 tackles for loss, 5 Pro Bowls. Gerald McCoy, 54 and a half sacks, 140 quarterback hits, 79 tackles for loss, but one more Pro Bowl than Sue. He has 6. McCoy was more productive than Sue as a pass rusher this past season. McCoy had 6 sacks, 21 quarterback hits, and 6 tackles for loss, whereas Sue had 4.5 sacks, 19 quarterback hits, and 4 tackles for loss. It is a big signing for the Bucs defense. I mean, they definitely need it, and Kung Su, we all know, very controversial. He had many noggin diva moments over his career, especially his days with the Detroit Lions. We all know those infamous incidents that he had, which we're not going to get into. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Bucs, we thought they had a chance to be, a breakout team last year, and for the early part of the year, it looked like they were going to be, but then, unfortunately, it all went downhill and not in a good way. This is now his fourth different team. He was with the Detroit Lions 2010 to 2014. MF knows he was with his Miami Dolphins from 2015 to 2017. Last year was a member of the NFC champion Los Angeles Rams, and now going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's already been a 5-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time first-team All-Pro, a 2-time second-team All-Pro, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2010, his college career, 2009. You know the story. He won practically every award there was to win, except for the Heisman, of course. But, he won the Outland. He won the Lombardi Award, the Bronco Nagurski Award, the Chuck Bednarik Award, AP Player of the Year Award, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year Award, a unanimous All-American, and a 2-time first-team All-Pro Big 12. And, we wish him the best in Tampa. I mean, he's been criticized in the media by other players and by the NFL for his aggressive style of play. He's been fined a total of $216,875 for 4 violations in the first 4 years in his career. In a poll of fellow players conducted by the Sporting News, Suh was named the dirtiest player in the NFL. As of December 2011, he had been flagged for 9 personal fouls in his first 2 years, most of any player in the league, and named the NFL's least liked player in a Forbes publicized Nielsen report in October of 2012. But, that was then. This is now. I know he's changed the tone a little bit, but, I personally don't think it's the best fit for him. I mean, I would have liked to have seen him stay with LA because, that is a Super Bowl contending team. That's a championship caliber team. And I don't know if the Rams couldn't afford him anymore or if he wanted to leave on his own merits. I mean, we'll never know. But at the same time, though, we do wish him the best. And, it'll be interesting to see how Ndamukong Suh will deliver in Tampa. Tampa's had a lot of defensive legends. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, and Gerald McCoy, just to name a few. Can he add to that legacy? We'll only time will tell. And Rondé Barber, obviously, that's another name I wanted to throw out there. So, we'll wait and see. So, like I said, not the best fit, but, whatever makes him happy, I guess. So, I'm not going to knock him for it. So, nothing more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, Mr. NFL, come on in. I personally don't think Tampa Bay is the best fit for him. I would have liked to have seen him stay in LA because, like I said, that's a Super Bowl contending team. But Tampa, 10 mil. Wow.
I mean, if you're a free agent and this is the opportunity that you can get, not many very teams were knocking on the door. I'm surprised the Rams did not re-sign him. But then again, when you got Aaron Donald and you got some other guys that you really need to keep your eyes on, sometimes this is that cap casualty, as I like to call it. You can't have enough money to sign everybody that you want. There's going to be some that will fall through the cracks. And unfortunately, Ndamukong Suh fell through the cracks. And, good for Tampa. Good for Tampa to get Ndamukong Suh. Like you said, he was a little bit of a troublemaker in Detroit. He had his moments in Miami. I'm not going to deny that he was a saint over there. I mean, there was some games where he got himself in trouble, got a couple of personal fouls on us that kind of rubbed me the wrong way and got me a little under the skin. But he's a good defensive player, no doubt about it. Very passionate in the game. Can he get a little rowdy? Absolutely. He gets a little mean, a little nasty, where he kind of goes over the line where he probably should not. But it is what it is. And Tampa's gained themselves quite a defensive player, and I wish him nothing but the best. So yeah, I got really nothing more to say. So good job, Tampa. Congratulations on getting Ndamukong Suh, and maybe he'll be the spark plug for the defense, because that was one of the things that Anthony, that Tampa was known for, a ferocious defense. You know about Derek Brooks. You know about Warren Sapp, John Lynch, and them boys. And, they were one of the reasons why that they won Super Bowl 37. And, maybe that's one of the reasons why they got Ndamukong Suh, to anchor him, to get a nice young crew, and to at least give them the opportunity to at least, put the pieces together that would maybe one day make him a Super Bowl contender. Give Ndamukong Suh a 1-year tender. If he loves it, then sign him for a long-term contract, and then maybe put some pieces around him as like the anchor of the defensive team. Maybe we'd be talking about Tampa as a Super Bowl contender maybe in 3-4 years. You never know.
All right, keep your mic on, MF, because you'll be leading off this next story, and this is one that I know is probably going to be near and dear to your heart here.
The
University of Michigan, the men's basketball team has a brand new head coach. We talked about it last week. John Beilein left to become the head coach of the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers. And, well, they obviously had to find a replacement, and who better than one of their own? Juwan Howard. Yes, Juwan Howard signing a 5-year contract as the Michigan Wolverines' next head men's basketball coach, the school announced last Wednesday, May 22nd. According to the school's release, Howard will earn upwards of $2 million annually with a base salary of $400,000. Howard replaces John Beilein, who left after 12 seasons to coach the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 46-year-old Howard was famously a member of the Fab Five, spending 3 seasons in Ann Arbor before embarking on a 19-year NBA career. He retired in 2013 and immediately transitioned into a coaching role with the Miami Heat. And on Twitter, he received strong endorsements from, of course, the 2 biggest stars at the time, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, and that's all there is to it. So MF, I mean, when it comes to the University of Michigan, you're more known for being the football fan for them, but I do know that you also have some love and respect for the men's basketball team. Of course, Johnny Beilein, what a great job he did for them.
Absolutely
getting them to those 2 championship games in 2013 and 2018, albeit losing efforts both ways. But Juwan Howard knows what it's like to be on that big stage. 92, Michigan got to the title game. Well, 92 and 93.
Yeah.
Michigan got to the title game, but losing efforts, of course, to Duke and Carolina, respectively. So MF, I mean, I know you've got some serious thoughts on this, and I know that. What do you think? Good hire, bad hire, what?
Excellent hire. No, this is a Michigan guy through and through. Remember the Fab Five, Anthony? That he was one of the members of the Fab Five.
How can you forget?
I mean, you talk about Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Jimmy King. It was Juwan Howard, and I'm gonna say it. This guy deserves the job. And what really made me very happy and warmed my heart was the press conference. He talked about before they even did anything, they presented him with the original jersey that he wore, number 25. And it was such an emotional moment that he broke down in tears. And you know what? We can say a lot of things about sports and everything else, but that was a human moment. And it was just one of those things that he got it. We got it. We knew what it meant. We know what it means to Juwan Howard to go back home, to get the opportunity to go back to his alma mater and to be the head coach of literally one of the most premier college basketball universities. Now I know a lot of people say, is it really a dream job? Yes. Michigan is on the map. They made a great run in the Final Four a year ago, making it to the national championship game. And Juwan Howard is in a great position right now. He inherited a very good team by John Beilein to possibly not only make another run in the NCAA tournament, but maybe with some of the credibility and some of the guys, and maybe even with some of the help from his Fat Five brethren. Now, I don't know if how much of an influence they're going to have on the recruiting to help Juwan Howard out. But if some of the guys from the Fat Five, starts to help recruiting, say, hey, listen, you come to Michigan, you're going to be taught by by a great guy, a guy that I can relate with. You saw the interview on Step Up with Juwan Howard and Jalen Rose, and you can feel the camaraderie. You feel how close they were together and how awesome that moment was. To me, that's what's going to make Juwan Howard a successful guy. Plus, his knowledge of basketball goes well into he's got a lot of wealth and a lot of knowledge, especially to work with guys, from the Fat 5 years. He worked with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, two of the best players of all time. And, to work with them, to be teammates and a world champion nonetheless with the Miami Heat. So you got a great situation for Juwan Howard and for the Michigan Wolverines. I could easily say that they'll be right there, possibly win the Big Ten next year. Obviously, a team you got to watch out for is Tom Izzo and Michigan State. I think they're the favorites, but Michigan is easily number 2 in the Big Ten next year. And then as far as NCAA goes, well, you know, it's always a crapshoot. You never know how that breaks down. But with the young guys that he's going to get, maybe some of the talent that he brings in through recruiting, you never know. I think Michigan will be lined up very well for the next few years. And maybe, you never know, if the stars aligns correctly, maybe we could talk about them as national champions down the line. They got 5 years. I mean, I really believe they could do something very special in my mind. So, no, this was an excellent hire. This was a solid hire for me. And on top of that, I really feel like this was a coming home type thing, and you don't really get those kind of stories. And this was a feel good story more than anything else. What really made it great was the press conference, and just seeing that alone made me feel like, Michigan, you're going to have a guy that's going to fight for you, that knows his stuff, and it's going to bring, and hopefully will bring a winning culture to your university. John Beilein was a great coach. There's no doubt about it. He was a great coach for Michigan. For Juwan Howard, he's got a tough act to follow, but being from Michigan, knowing what it takes to win it all, like I said, he's an NBA world champion. But to try to bring that knowledge to the college game, I think he's going to do it. I really feel like this is going to be a great hire. No doubt about it. Anthony, it's yours.
Wow, strong words indeed, MF. And more to this story. The Detroit Free Press, Nick Baumgardner and David Jesse reported the previous Monday that Michigan was set to meet with Juwan Howard and Providence head basketball coach Ed Cooley as part of its coaching search. Cooley removed himself from consideration back on May 21, confirming he will stay in Providence. Praise the Lord for that. I'm very happy to hear that as a PC guy. But Juwan Howard, clearly a sentimental favorite among Wolverines fans after helping guide the program to back-to-back title game appearances in 1992, and a losing effort against Duke in 1993, and a losing effort to North Carolina, the infamous Chris Webber timeout fiasco. But anyways, that support could serve him well in the event Michigan takes a step backward early in his tenure. John Beilein, like MF said, does leave massive shoes to fill. The Wolverines reached the NCAA tournament 9 times under Beilein and were national runners-up in 2013 to Louisville and 2018 to Villanova. John Beilein raised the standard of Michigan to heights it hadn't experienced since Bill Frieder and Steve Fisher in the 1980s and 1990s. While Michigan presents a major test for Howard in his first head coaching opportunity, one can understand why the potential to bring his alma mater its second national championship was too good to pass up. So that's my thought on that alone. So congratulations, Juwan Howard. And on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we want to wish you the very, very best in your new endeavor. And we're going to be very much looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table. And, you know, they're going to be around. That's all there is to say on that. And I agree with MF. I mean, I can definitely see them making another deep tournament run in 2020. Absolutely. All right. Now to the first half of our double main event, our complete preview of the 2019 NBA Finals, which got underway last night at Scotiabank Arena, formerly the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. It is your reigning and defending, undisputed back-to-back NBA champion Golden State Warriors squaring off against the Toronto Raptors. And last night in Game 1, the Toronto Raptors, they got it. They picked up the win. I believe it was 118-109. And that Siaka kid, let me tell you, man, did he come to play last night. Unbelievable. But this was the preview that I had going in. Every so often, the best team doesn't win the NBA championship. Sometimes it's the healthiest. A few examples come to mind, such as the 88-89 Lakers, who lost Byron Scott to a hamstring injury caused by Pat Riley's pre-finals boot camp, and then Magic Johnson, similarly, one game into the series with the Pistons, who swept. Then in 2015, the Cleveland Cavaliers, already without Kevin Love, saw Kyrie Irving lost with a fractured kneecap suffered in Game 1. Maybe those two teams would have won, maybe not. It's one of those basketball mysteries, aka what-if files, that will go unsolved. Well, what the Warriors are trying to do is become the best team to win in spite of their health, specifically with Kevin Durant, who is expected to play against the Raptors, although precisely when and to what extent and how effectively all remain unclear right now. The Warriors romped quite impressively, if not mildly surprisingly, the last 5 full games without Durant in the final 2 rounds of the Western Conference playoffs. And while that bodes well for their confidence at some point, conventional thinking says they will need Kevin Durant. Will he be around to bail them out when the ball doesn't fall for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? Should Durant be the Durant who sizzled in the first round and threw much of round 2? This series might be short on suspense. And if DeMarcus Cousins returns, well, the Warriors for the first time in 5 years don't have to go through LeBron James to win a title. And while Kawhi Leonard is a former Finals MVP, 2014 with San Antonio, and rolling for the Raptors right now, or most any other human, isn't on the Kings' postseason level. This has been, without a doubt, the most satisfying season for the Raptors franchise, which finally experienced a postseason breakthrough, thanks partly by LeBron's defection. Yet Kawhi Leonard would need to be a close imitation of LeBron to keep a national audience fixated and the Raptors close enough to prevent the Warriors from taking another summer champagne bath before summer officially begins. 3 things to watch in this series. Number 1, will Kawhi Leonard survive Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala? It's one thing to see a solid defender in your path, as Kawhi did with Giannis Antetokounmpo against Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. But what happens when the Warriors can throw Green and then Iguodala and perhaps Klay Thompson and maybe Kevin Durant, all of whom bring different looks? This could prove problematic for Toronto and frustrating for Kawhi, especially if Danny Green, Pascal Siakam, Serge Ibaka, and company don't rise up. Number 2, can Kyle Lowry keep up with Stephen Curry defensively? This will be quite the challenge for Lowry to place handcuffs on a guard who averaged 35 points in 5 games, 4 versus the Blazers and 1 against the Rockets, without Kevin Durant, and bring the same energy on the other end to ease the load from Kawhi Leonard. Lowry didn't check a big-time scorer in any of the 3 rounds: DJ Augustine, JJ Redick, and Eric Bledsoe. And number 3, will any readjusting be necessary if and when Kevin Durant returns? This is one of the more confounding debates raging outside the Warriors organization. There shouldn't be any discomfort with Durant back in the fold unless you weigh the last 4 weeks over the previous 2 seasons. Besides, he's surrounded by the most unselfish teammates he'll likely ever have, starting with Stephen Curry. The number to know? 6.2. Through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, the Warriors have outscored their opponents by 6.2 points per 100 possessions. That's their worst mark through the first 3 rounds over this stretch of 5 straight trips to the finals. Over the previous 4 years, the Warriors' lowest point differential through 3 rounds was plus 6.4 in 2016, the year they lost in the finals. Time will tell if the lower point differential is an indication that the Warriors are beatable again. What we do know now is that statistically, they just haven't been as good as they were the last 2 years. All 6 of their conference semifinal games against the Houston Rockets were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. And though they swept Portland in the Western Conference Finals, they trailed for 51% of the minutes in that series and by at least 17 points in each of the last 3 games. It's on defense where the Warriors haven't been as strong this year. In each of the previous 4 years, they allowed fewer points per 100 possessions than the postseason average through the first 3 rounds. 5.3 fewer than the average in 2015, 1.6 fewer in 16, 8.7 fewer in 17, and 6.5 fewer last year. In these playoffs, they've allowed 110.2 points per 100 possessions, a mark which ranks 9th among the 16 teams, and is 1.8 points per 100 possessions more than the average 108.4. Of course, the Warriors' offense, despite the absence of Kevin Durant for the last 5 games, has never been better. Over 16 games, the Warriors have scored 116.4 points per 100 possessions, 8 more than the league average, and ridiculously efficient offense. Just might be enough for a 3rd straight championship and 4th in the last 5 years. Prediction? Well, the Raptors rolled the dice last summer to get Kawhi Leonard, and even if they lose this series and he leaves through free agency, it was a gamble well worth taking, if only because they're in the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. Canada will be forever grateful. Still, in spite of that, and also Kawhi's sizzling playoff run, Toronto is at a disadvantage everywhere except fan support, as we saw last night and throughout these playoffs over the years with the infamous Jurassic Park outside of the arena. But a fully loaded Warriors team, I still think is the team to beat. A team with Kevin Durant missing a pair of games, well, we'll see. But initially going into this series, I had Golden State winning this series in 5 games. But after what I saw last night, well, I still think Golden State wins the series based on their experience and the whole 9 yards. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. I would love to see the Toronto Raptors really break through and go all the way and win the Larry O'Brien trophy. That would be the crowning achievement for that franchise. And it would be a sight to see. I mean, to see an upstart team like the Toronto Raptors take down the big guy. You know, this is literally a David versus Goliath situation here. Golden State Warriors, for the last several years, I mean, they are now the next great dynasty in the NBA. They've won the last 2 and 3 out of the last 4. They win this, it would be 3 in a row and 4 out of the last 5. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. They're still a dynasty as far as I'm concerned. But as much as I would love to see Toronto win this series, and as happy as I was to see them win last night, I just can't go against the Golden State Warriors because A, they've won the last 2 years, and of course they are the more superior team. So like I said, going in, I had them winning in 5, but after last night, I got to bump that to right around maybe 6, maybe even 7. But I would not be surprised if, when all is said and done, that the Golden State Warriors' reign of terror on the NBA continues. All their fans would be grateful in Oakland, and one beautiful fan that I know very much so, My sister Nicole's a longtime friend, Dawn Avalar. I've mentioned her on this show many of times. Huge Golden State Warriors fan. She is very passionate about her Dubs. And they win this, well, it just goes to show that they're now the spoiled team right now. Those fans are getting spoiled, including her. So we'll wait and see. But I want Toronto to win. I really do. You know, just so we could have some parity in the NBA, something that we haven't seen in several years. But nonetheless, either at least six, maybe even seven. For me, the winners and still the NBA world champions, the team that I consider the NBA's version of Brock Lesnar. In Alabama, football, the Patriots, what have you. It's the Golden State Warriors. But I want Toronto to win. I really do. And my good friend Josh Avery. That's my young friend from church. He said that's his second favorite team behind the Celtics. So he's rooting very hard for them too. So nothing more to say. I'm Mr. NBA. I pretty much did my Mike Breen here. So I'm going to need the Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson out of you for this. So can the Toronto Raptors do it? Can the Toronto Raptors? Can they be David? Can they slay Goliath? And if they do, would you consider it one of the big? How big of an upset would it be if Toronto does the unthinkable?
Well, I mean, for Toronto to do what they're doing is a remarkable run. I mean, everybody knows for the last few years that the Toronto Raptors was there. They never got over the hump, but they were right there. They always were a very good team, but one thing or another, if it was LeBron James and the Heat or LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, it just prevented them from making the run in the NBA, and they end up getting knocked out. And at the end of the day, you have to realize that yes, the Golden State Warriors are a dynasty. They're like the Celtics of the 1980s. They're like the Lakers of the 80s with Magic and all the guys. Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. And then, the last team that had the three-peat was the LA Lakers, the Kobe and Shaq, and that run and how amazing their run was through the NBA Finals. So obviously, at the end of the day, yes, the Golden State Warriors are the favorites, and rightfully so. They deserve to be the favorites. But the one thing, Anthony, that I notice is that, everybody was saying, oh, if Milwaukee gets to the NBA Finals, that they were going to be a matchup problem for Golden State. If you saw what happened last night in Game 1, yes, Golden State made a run, but Toronto jumped out and they punched Golden State in the mouth. And then the Golden State came back and they got it down to 3. And I know, honestly, I was thinking, here we go again. Golden State's gonna flip that switch and they're gonna rout Toronto. This is like you. I thought this was gonna be an open and shut case. Toronto never panicked. Toronto never got scared of the moment. They were willed by that crowd, the We the North crowd in Scotiabank. That place, that Jurassic Park outside was rocking. They were ready. They wanted this moment, and for all of us, this was unbelievable. And what they did, what Siakam did, what Marc Gasol did, what Kyle Lowry did, and even Kawhi Leonard. Leonard didn't have a great game. He didn't. I think we all can agree with that. Everybody was thinking, he was going to have a better night and everything else. And he basically had what I call a pedestrian performance. 5 of 13 shooting, but the free throws was the reason why he had a more productive game. But think about what happened with especially early in the game, how they were going out. And really, who really set it the tone at the beginning of the game was Gasol. Gasol was hitting threes out of nowhere, and you even talked about it in the broadcast last night, Anthony. You're like, where did Gasol come from? Gasol was pretty much a non-existent during the season, pretty quiet most of the year, and you're like, this looks like the Marc Gasol of the Memphis Grizzlies of old. And the thing is that at the end of the day, these are the moments that you want to be defined. And he showed us what it was meant. This is the NBA Finals. This is the biggest moment of your career. Man up and show up, and they did. So, do I think Toronto has a legit chance to win the series? Absolutely, yes. And I'll even go one further, Anthony. If they win game 2 on Sunday night, I think the Toronto Raptors will be the 2019 NBA champions because of the fact that then you put all the pressure on Golden State. And one thing that was very interesting and very telling was, well, in the three-peat that they did, or in the year that they had, the first time that they won the championship, a lot of people can say that Cleveland was the better team, and if it wasn't for Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving both going down with injuries, that really LeBron could have ended the curse of Cleveland's nightmare at that point. Then the 73-win team, they lost the NBA Finals, the greatest team of all time, and they lost the NBA Finals. Obviously, once you got, Kevin Durant and everything else, yeah, it became an unfair playing field. And even now, you could even say that it's an even bigger unplaying field where they got Boogie Cousins. But DeMarcus Cousins didn't really play great last night. Actually, was practically ineffective. Only played 8 minutes. As of now, Kevin Durant might not be back till at least game 3, game 4 of the NBA Finals. But they're saying it's a calf injury. Max Kellerman has been saying the whole time that it's an Achilles. Now, if it's an Achilles or a calf, whatever, but if he's ineffective, if he doesn't play great, and now on top of that, you have you got Andre Iguodala, and it looked like he suffered a leg injury last night after game 1. So now you got 3 guys definitely hurt, probably not ineffective, compromised. That means the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, are going to have to rely on themselves for this. Where's the other help? Draymond has to step up. Looney has to step up. If they don't, Anthony, this is an open and shut case. The NBA championship is going to the Great White North. The Toronto Raptors captures the trophy for the first time ever. So, obviously, they got to turn it around. They got to bring everything out. The one thing I'm a little worried about is Kawhi Leonard. Is he going to be fully healthy? It looks like he's hurt a little bit or dinged up. You could tell he was definitely favoring a little. So, we're just going to have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a great, great series. Going into this, I thought the Warriors were going to win it pretty handily. After last night, and especially, I want to see what happens in game 2, because if Toronto should go up 2-0 in this NBA Finals, Anthony, I'm going to call for the Raptors to win the series in 7. Whoever would thought I would say that. So, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And from there, Anthony, it's yours. There's nothing more to say.
They're going with Toronto to win.
Well, I got to say right now, get back to me after game 2. But if Toronto wins games 2, then I'm going to go with the Raptors to win the NBA Finals. Yeah.
Okay. So, in case you missed it, game 1 was last night. All games will be broadcast on ABC. Game 2, as MF mentioned, will be on Sunday night. Once again in Toronto. And then the series will shift to the Oracle in Oakland. Game 3 will be on Wednesday night. Game 4 next Friday night. So who knows? Maybe we could get some NBA Finals commentary, and you never know. Very possible. We'll see. Should there be a Game 5, it would be back in Toronto on Monday night, June 10th. Game 6, if necessary, will be back in Oakland on Thursday, June 13th. And if we should have a winner-take-all Game 7, it would go down on Sunday night, June 16th, Father's Day, from Toronto. Of course, the last time we had that, it was 2016. The Cavs and the Warriors. We'll never forget it. That game was a 5-star classic, and we thought it was the greatest NBA game we ever saw, and so much Shakespearean drama. And I mean, that was a night we'll never forget 3 years ago. So it'll be interesting. So look forward to being back on Sunday night. It's going to be great. So, all right, one last order of business this evening, and that is the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. I've got mine all set to go, so I'll take it for a spin first. Coming in at number 10, it is the San Diego Padres. They're 29-27. They lost their last game. They are 6-4 in their last 10 games. They're currently winning right now against the Miami Marlins. They're up 2-0 in the bottom half of the fourth up at Petco. They are 8.5 games behind the Dodgers in the West. Padres are 4th in the WHIP. They're 8th in ERA. They're 24th in batting average. They're 26th in runs scored. And since our last rankings, they took 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays in that interleague series at Skydome in Toronto. In those 2 wins, they outscored the Blue Jays 25-7. They did lose 2 out of 3 to my Yankees at Yankee Stadium. That interleague series this week. They were off last night, and they're currently up 2-0 on the Marlins right now. So definitely justifying my pick there. They have 2 more games against the Marlins this weekend at home. And then they got the Philadelphia Phillies coming in for a big 3-game series with implications. That starts on Monday night. And then starting Thursday, they will have the Washington Nationals coming in for a 4-game series going in the next weekend. So really nothing more to say here. Number 10, it is the San Diego Padres. So MF, agree or disagree on that?
I agree. I got to go with San Diego as well. You definitely made a very valid point on everything, so I'm not going to waste too much of your time on that, folks. So my number 9, another team that is 6-4, another team that is loser of 1 game, but they are playing right now at this hour. But they are the National League Eastern Division leaders, the Philadelphia Phillies. They are my number 9, and like I said, they're playing the Dodgers at this hour. I don't know just yet.
They're trailing 2-1.
Okay, so I mean, but that's plenty of time. They could, it's only 4th inning, so plenty of time for them to come back. So no panic. But at the end of the day, it is something that just needs to be done. So I really got nothing more to say here. Nothing bad to say. I like what I've seen. So yeah. At the end of the day, I'll give credit where credit's due. They've done a really good job. And Anthony, it is all yours. My number 9 is the Philadelphia Phillies.
And we agree again. It is the Philadelphia Phillies coming in at number 9, 33-23, which is the second best record in the National League right now. We got the 2 best teams in the National League record-wise going at it this weekend. That's a huge series right there. Yes, like the Padres, losers of 1 in a row and 6-4, but Philly has the better record, so we got to put Philly ahead for the moment. They are trailing the Dodgers 2-1. I think it's going into the bottom half of the fourth up at Dodger Stadium, so we'll see. They are 10th in ERA. They're 13th in runs scored. They're 16th in the WHIP, and they're 18th in batting average. Since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers up in Milwaukee. Followed that up by winning 2 out of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals. And they are now going up against the Dodgers. They trailed 2-1 in the bottom of the fourth. They have 2 more against the Dodgers this weekend. Then they go up to San Diego for a 3-game series with the Padres. And then they come back home next week to host the Cincinnati Reds for a 3-game series. So we'll see what happens with that. So coming in at number 9, it is the Philadelphia Phillies. Number 8, same situation. A team that has lost 1 in a row, is also 6-4 in their last 10 games, but the record's better, so we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Coming in at number 8, it is the Houston Astros. Houston Astros, 37-20. Third best record. By percentage points, it's the third best record in the American League. 7.5 up on Oakland in the AL West. They lead the league in batting average. They lead the league in WHIP. They're second in ERA. They're 8th in runs scored. And let's see what they did since our last rankings. They won 2 out of 3 from the Boston Red Sox. And then that highly anticipated interleague series with the Chicago Cubs. They won that. They won 2 out of 3 in that series. They were off last night, and they are currently going up against the Oakland Athletics right now, and they are trailing the Oakland A's 2-0 in the top half of the 5th inning down at the Oakland Coliseum. They have 2 more games against the A's this weekend, and then they go up to Seattle for a 4-game series against the Mariners. And then next weekend, they will have the dud Baltimore Orioles coming in for a 3-game series. So that's all there is to say on that. So Houston Astros coming in at number 8. So MF, what do you say to that?
I say yes. I say Houston is number 8. Look, I'm gonna really open this up, and this really deserves to get some kind of consideration because of what they've been doing. They just been very good, and a lot of the times, whenever you get these type of situations, you never know how it plays out in the whole 9 yards. But this is one of those rare cases where, yeah, Houston's been playing great and they've been dominating, and they've gotten a lot of good breaks. And at the end of the day, I love it. So, yeah, Houston number 8, no doubt about it. Number 7, all right. This is probably going to get me a little bit in trouble, but this is a 6-4 team, but they won a game.
Yep.
And their record, believe it or not, would make them qualify for the power rankings. I'm going to do it. Representing the NL West, the Texas Rangers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute, Texas? Really? You're going to put them in? Here's the reason why. Okay. If you look at the grand scheme of things, record-wise, they're 8 behind Houston. So obviously, there's no way, no how you can't. There's no way. It doesn't add up. But they're a half game behind in the wild card. They're right there. So for me, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say yes, that they deserve the spot. I'm going to reward them. And unfortunately, I don't see any other good teams, at least in the 6-4 range, or the teams who have losing records. I just can't put them over the top. So therefore, I'm going to pull the trigger on this very controversially, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make the Texas Rangers my number 7. Anthony, it's yours.
No, you're not in trouble, MF. You got this one exactly right. It is the Texas Rangers. I get tongue-tied at times. I apologize. A 1-game winning streak, yes. 6-4 in the last 10, 28-27. Criteria is you have to be at least 500 or better to be in. Rangers are 2nd in runs scored. They're 12th in batting average, but the pitching needs a lot of work. They're 26th in ERA, and they're near the bottom in the WHIP. So 30th in that. Since our last rankings, they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in Anaheim last weekend, but they made up for it by winning 2 out of 3 from the Seattle Mariners in Seattle. And so far in this 4-game series with the Kansas City Royals, they're 1-1. They lost last night, but they won tonight, and that's what saved them. They have 2 more games against the Royals this weekend. They're off on Monday, and then they got the Baltimore Orioles coming in for a 3-game series starting on Tuesday, and then starting next Friday, a 4-game series with the Oakland A's. But next Saturday, June 8th, that's a day-night doubleheader. So that's why there's 4. I think it was supposed to be 3, but it's going to be a 4 because of a day-night doubleheader. So that's what's going on with the Texas Rangers. So they're playing some great ball as of late. The offense, I mean, it's just like those great Ranger teams in the 90s. You know, when they had the likes of Juan Gonzalez and Pudge Rodriguez and Rafael Palmeiro and Rusty Greer and, you know, those insanely scary offensive teams. Great offense and pitching. So that's all there is to say on that. And that's why they never got over the hump. That's why they always lost to the Yankees. And that's why they lost those back-to-back World Series appearances in 2010 and 11. Great offense, pitching. Not going to get it done. Sorry. So that's just my little mini story there. So Texas Rangers coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, it was a team that was a very white-hot team, but they have since cooled off a bit. But they're starting to get their swagger back. The Oakland Athletics. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games, but they have lost 2 in a row, 29-27, half game with them and the Rangers. Oakland is 10th in the WHIP, 11th in ERA, 12th in runs scored, and 18th in batting average. So let's see what they've done since the last rankings. A 3-game sweep of the Seattle Mariners at home. They outscored them 19-8 in the process. But the downside is they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And then from there, but they are leading the Houston Astros right now, 2-0, halfway through that one. 2 more games against the Astros this weekend. They're off on Monday. Then they go up to Anaheim for a 3-game series with the Angels. And then next weekend, of course, they'll be going up to Texas for that 4-game series, including the day-night doubleheader next Saturday against the Texas Rangers in Arlington. So that's really all there is to say on that. I mean, they were a very white-hot team. But if it wasn't for those 2 losses to the Angels, we probably would have been talking about the Oakland A's maybe being number 1. Because 6, 7, 8, they had won 10 in a row before losing Tuesday night to the Angels, and then again the next night. And they were off last night, and that didn't help them at all. But they got cooled off, but they're starting to get their swagger back as they are at home. So we'll see what happens. So for right now, number 6, it is the Oakland Athletics and MF. I mean, I know you're going to agree with me on this. They were so white hot. I mean, if it wasn't for those Angels losses, this team hands down would have been number 1.
Oh man, this is one of those of what might have been, what could have been. Yeah, unfortunate, but because man, they were so hot, and we were talking about it, and yeah, very unfortunate, unlucky break, and that's all that you can say about it. But no, you're absolutely right. Oakland number 6, and man, if this is one of those teams. There's a few teams in this. I'm gonna say it. There's a few teams right now in these power rankings that they easily could be number 1. There's a few of them. Even the top 5, we could easily make an argument that, you know, one got well deserving of the number 1, but number 2, number 3, number 4, if they would have won a couple of games here and there, they could have easily been the number 1 team in the power rankings, and we'll get into it in just a moment. So, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some arguments here. And actually going into number 5, my number 5, and again, a team that easily could have been number 1, the Tampa Bay Rays. 8-2 in the last 10 games. They lost tonight to the Minnesota Twins. Oh, by the way, we'll get into Minnesota in just a short.
Yep.
Because they're in there, and this is one of those cases that we're talking about, Florio. 35-20, game and a half behind the New York Yankees. They are leading. They have the top spot in the wild card, and they're 6.5 up on everybody else. I mean, again, a couple of wins here, and they would be number one in the power rankings. Right now, they have a legit argument to say, hey, we deserve to be number one. But they're not because of the body of work of some of the other teams. So this is one of those, the body of work is there. We just need to see a little more, just a little bit. Not much, because you're right there. You're in the conversation. Normally, we always had, there's a clear-cut number one. There's some clear-cut stuff. This time around, it's so bunched together that one win or one loss could have altered this entire power rankings. Like, you wouldn't even believe. So with that said, my number 5 is the Tampa Bay Rays. But Anthony, like I've said, they easily could have been number one.
I'm going to bring back one of our old favorite expressions from our many phone calls over the years. This is an expression I know you'll remember very well. Remember when we used to say, I have a confession to make? Well, I do have a confession to make. At the start of the day, I actually had the Tampa Bay Rays as my number one team. But after what happened tonight,
they have to fall. Yeah, they have to fall.
Since our last rankings, they took 3 out of 4 from the Cleveland Indians up in Cleveland. A 3-game sweep of the Toronto Blue Jays. Had no trouble with them whatsoever. And then they beat down the Minnesota Twins last night, 14-3. But tonight, they lose to Minnesota. Another big series this weekend. One of the 3 big series of the weekend. We talked about one of them earlier, the Phillies and the Dodgers. A battle of the National League's 2 best records. You got 2 of the best records in the American League squaring off here with Minnesota and Tampa. And we'll get into the 3rd series. Of course, it's the biggest of them all because of all the history and prestige behind it. And you know where we're going with that, MF, because how many of those series have we done over the years?
Oh, yeah. Too many to count.
Regular and postseason, especially postseason. But nonetheless, the Rays have 2 more games against the Twins this weekend. They're off on Monday. Then they go up to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers at Comerica. And then following that, a 4-game series with the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, including a day-night doubleheader next Saturday. So we'll wait and see on that. So Tampa Bay, they lead the league in ERA. They're 2nd in WHIP. They're 4th in batting average. The run scoring, that's the only thing they need to work on. They're 19th in that. But, they have the reigning Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell, and, he's killing it again this year. So we'll wait and see on that. But for right now, Tampa Bay Rays, they are number 5. But like I said, at the start of this day, every Friday, before the show, well, a little before the show, I do early in the day on a Friday, I do what I call my pre-power rankings, my pre-show power rankings. And Tampa Bay was my number 1 team, but they did lose, so that's what happens. But if they had won, they most certainly, they could have been number 1. But, it is what it is. So Tampa Bay Rays, number 5. Let's go to number 4. And speaking of the Minnesota Twins, here they are. Minnesota Twins coming in at number 4. By percentage points, the best record. It's a 1-game difference between them and the Yankees for the best record in the American League, 38-18. Largest division lead, I believe, of any division leader right now, 10.5 over the suddenly red-hot White Sox, honorable mention, by the way, and the Cleveland Indians, who have free-fallen. But Minnesota, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They won tonight. They lead the league in runs scored. They're 2nd in batting average. They're 6th in ERA and 6th in the WHIP. Since our last power rankings, they swept the Chicago White Sox 3 in a row, outscored them 26-5 in that stretch. They split a 2-game interleague series with the Milwaukee Brewers. They were off on Wednesday, and they're in the middle. They're halfway through that big 4-game series with the Tampa Bay Rays. They got clobbered last night, 14-3, but they bounced back with a big win tonight, 5-3. They have 2 more against the Rays this weekend up in Tampa. They're off on Monday, and then they go up to Cleveland for a 3-game series with the Indians. And then next weekend, they go up to Detroit for a 3-game series with the Tigers. So we should there was something that actually did get lost in this, and that is we got to show some love for first-year manager and a former high school baseball great here in our state of Rhode Island, one of our own, Rocco Baldelli.
Mm-hmm.
Rocco Baldelli. You remember, for those of you who are in Rhode Island, a big star for Bishop Hendricken.
Bishop Hendricken, yeah.
Bishop Hendricken made us EPers, us townies, made us miserable in baseball. But and then of course, he had all those great years with the then Tampa Bay Devil Rays before they became the Rays. And now he goes into managing. First year on the job. I believe this is his first year on the job. And look what Rocco Baldelli has done with this team. And if this keeps up, I'm saying it right now. I know it's very early. I get it. But he is, as of right now, my front runner for American League Manager of the Year.
Oh, hands down, he gets it. I'm not going to argue that. What he has done, and with everything that he has included. Look, and I totally agree with your sentiments, Anthony, and even with the choice of putting Minnesota where they are. When you're 19-9 at home, 19-9 and 19-9 on the road, and you have a run differential of a plus 103, basically you scored 232 runs to 229 given up. There's something in the water in Minnesota, because good grief. That, as a matter of fact, I think that's the highest differential. Yeah, that's the highest differential in all of baseball. They have, actually, they have the highest differential right now. And on top of that, that 332 or that 332 that I said is the most runs scored in all of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's nothing more to say. I totally agree with what you said. If for some reason they do decide to give him the AL Manager of the Year, well deserved. That's all I say.
Amen.
So I guess we're moving on to our next pick, which is number 3.
Yep.
All right. This is wicked close. I mean, we're talking percentage points. But I got to say it. I'm sorry, Anthony.
No worries.
It's the New York Yankees.
Yep.
And it's only by percentage points. By that much. They beat the Boston Red Sox. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. Winners of 2 in a row. And they are, again, remember how he's talking about that apples to oranges, where that argument where they should be number 1? They've been playing great lately. But, and the one thing is they're going up against a team like the Boston Red Sox. And let me tell you, Boston's falling apart. Boston is hit it's like that movie, The Titanic, iceberg straight ahead. Boston's about to hit the iceberg. this early in the year, and we're not even
And
June
Dustin Pedroia.
1st.
And don't forget Dustin Pedroia and the news that
Yeah,
came out about him.
another setback. Another setback for him, and now the question becomes, could his career be over?
I think it might be.
And that's sad, but it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's unbelievable what has happened. So yeah, no doubt about it. So, nothing more to say. Yankees number 3. Anthony, it's yours.
Yes, it is. It is my Yankees. Slight drop. They were number 1 last week, but they dropped a small bit this week, a couple spots. 37-19, second best record in the American League, 1 game behind Minnesota for that honor. They lead Tampa Bay by 1.5 in the AL East, and 8-2 in their last 10, winners of 2 in a row. Since the last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Kansas City Royals. They also won 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres. They were supposed to play the Red Sox last night, but it got rained out, I guess. And there's going to be a day-night doubleheader. I believe they said it was going to be made up on August the 3rd, I believe, was the day. So, but anyways, they beat the Red Sox tonight 4-1 behind a big 2-run single by Aaron Hicks. That was the difference in that one. 2 more games against the Red Sox this weekend, of course. Both of them will be nationally televised. Tomorrow night, the Saturday night game of the week on Fox. And then, of course, Sunday night, it'll be, of course, Michael Bullock's favorite, Sunday Night Baseball. And I'm sure he's going to wind down after the long weekend he's got coming up, but in a good way. They're off on Monday, and then they go up to Toronto for a 3-game series with the Blue Jays at Sky Dome. I know it's Rogers Center, but we still call it Sky Dome. I don't care what anybody says. That's how we roll. And then from there, next Friday, they have a 3-game series in Cleveland. They're going to go up against the Indians up at Progressive Field. And then following that, which I know we'll get into maybe briefly next week. It's only 2 games, but still, the Mets are coming to town. Subway Series, baby. Let's go. So, you know how much we love those Subway Series, and what a magical moment that was in 2000 when we got to call that Subway Series. I mean, it was, it's a damn shame it was only 5 games, but man, that could have gone down as one of the great series of all time if it had gone longer. But still, Subway Series, it's still the Subway Series, for goodness sakes. So I know we'll get more into it next week, but for right now, the New York Yankees, they do come in at number 3. They're 4th in ERA, they're 5th in runs scored, 5th in the WHIP, and 8th in batting average. So that's all there is to say on that. And for this team to do what they're doing without Aaron Judge, without Giancarlo Stanton, is just mind-boggling. That's all I can say on that. When you've got young talent, when you have young talent like Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres and Urshela, who has just been red hot, Luke Voigt, who's been carrying the load. I mean, how can you not be impressed with this team right now? So, New York Yankees number 3. Let's move on now to number 2. It was very close, but by percentage points, number 2 as of now, it is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Also winners of 2 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10, 38-19, best record in the National League. They're 3rd across the board. They're 3rd in all 4 categories. 3rd in batting average, 3rd in runs scored, 3rd in ERA, and 3rd in WHIP. How about that? 3s across the board. So, since our last rankings, the Dodgers swept the Pittsburgh Pirates. Oh boy, did they sweep them. They swept them all right. Outscored them 28-11 in those 3 games. And then followed that up by winning 3 out of 4 from the New York Mets at Dodger Stadium this week. And they currently lead the Philadelphia Phillies 3-2, bottom of the 5th. One of the 3 big series this weekend. Of course, this is one of them right here, because these are the 2 best records in the National League squaring off. Of course, Minnesota and Tampa on the second of those 3 big series. And of course, the Sox and the Yanks. I mean, that's self-explanatory right there. So, but the Dodgers, lead it right now. They have 2 more games against the Phillies this weekend. And then they go up to Arizona for a 3-game series with the Diamondbacks at Chase Field. They're off on Thursday. And then next weekend, we get to renew another prestigious rivalry in all of baseball. Maybe the second greatest rivalry behind the Sox and the Yanks, the Dodgers and the Giants in San Francisco, AT&T Park or Pac Bell. I still call it Pac Bell Park, but it's in San Francisco. Dodgers, Giants. You know that story. That's self-explanatory as well. So nothing more to say. Los Angeles Dodgers coming in at number 2. Man, MF, I mean, Dodgers right there. Right there. If it wasn't for that little hiccup against the Mets, maybe they could have been number 1. So many great teams this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You even brought a very good point. The Dodgers are number 2, no doubt about that. We're not gonna take too much more time than that. And the number 1 team this week, you know what? I'm gonna say it. They're very lucky that they're over 500 because this is the reason why that they would be. Any other time we wouldn't be talking about this team, but they are number 1, the Colorado Rockies. 8-2 in the last 10 games, winners of 5 in a row.
Soon to be 6.
Soon to be 6 because they are leading on Toronto.
Pounding them.
Huh?
They're pounding them right now.
Oh boy, okay. So I got nothing more to say about that, but I'm gonna say it. At the end of the day, this is their moment. This is their thing. Look, if you look at the overall record, they're 28-27. All right, you're thinking, Mike, that doesn't really constitute power ranking level. All right, 9 games back. Okay, fine. And they are 1 game behind in the wild card. That number might shrink tonight. We'll see. So they're right there. They could easily make the playoffs, and if they do, well, now we're talking about something really special. So we'll wait and see what happens. But yes, my number 1 is Colorado. Anthony, I believe this is an agreement.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's a final. Make it 6 in a row for the Colorado Rockies.
There you go. Now they do cement their place as number 1.
It is a final. And I believe with this win, that should probably now take them to 9-1 in their last 10 now.
Yes, it should.
Yeah. So 6, 7. 8. Actually, it's still the 8-2, but still, they got it done. So Colorado Rockies are number 1. It's now 6 in a row, 8-2 in their last 10, 29-27 now with this win. They have now tied the San Diego Padres for second in the NL West for the moment. So let's see what the Rockies are. And it's just like they're a team every single year. Great offense, pitching. When it comes to the offense, they're 5th in batting average. They're 8th in runs scored. That's great. Pitching-wise, as Weezer said at the end of the Buddy Holly video, it's not so good, Al. They're 25th in the WHIP, and they're 27th in ERA. But then again, every single year since they've been a franchise, the offense has been amazing. The pitching, So, Rockies, since our last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles in an interleague series, 4-game sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then a 13-6 beatdown of the Toronto Blue Jays tonight behind Trevor Story. So 2 more interleague games with the Blue Jays this weekend. They're off on Monday. And then starting Tuesday, big series here. They got to go to Wrigley Field and take on Ward's Cubs for a 3-game series. That's not going to be easy. And then next weekend, they go up to Citi Field against the Mets. That's a 3-game series. So, man alive, they are red hot right now. They can only get some good pitching. Then this team could be a contender. The offense is there. The pitching they need so much work. But then again, that's been the story of that franchise since they came into existence. So, nothing more to say. Colorado Rockies, you are the number 1 team this week in the power rankings. Well done. You earned it. So that's it. Strictly Sports for this week is in the books. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. As always, MF, let's get into your quick shout outs, and then we'll set up the future content coming up.
All right. Thank you to all the great fans out there for making the show as incredible as it is. To my friends in the junior high and high school days, you guys know who you guys are. To the 2184 crew, to the super fans, you guys know who you guys are. And that's it. So I got really nothing more to say. So have a good night. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, hang in there, MF. Yes, my shout outs, of course. Special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there. We continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Enough said. Special shout outs to Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson, and the Woodson family. Of course, our insiders, Matt Ward and Jason Hicksonbaugh. Our good friend Daniel Luttrell from the UK. And of course our other first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. The crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Albert Raderson, Rob Parsons, and Mike Silvera. And of course, Michael Bullock. We're thinking of you tonight, man. We wish you all the best. Michael Bullock obviously couldn't be with us tonight because of the Special Olympics Rhode Island State Summer Games. Him and several of our dear and closest friends taking part in that. Mike and Brian Keenan, Michael Bullock's girlfriend, Mary Ellen Powers, Heather Rostic, just to name many of the few. Of course, another good friend, Ryan Avedisian, the power lifter. And we wish them all the best, and I know they're gonna represent us as only they can. So we send you our prayers and our blessings and our encouragement for a job well done, my friends, our dear friends. So that one's for you. So then this show tonight was for you. So all of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, and of course all of our friends over at ESPN, FS1, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, NFL Network, the whole 9 yards. Status Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, former co-hosts Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. Of course, all of my dear friends over at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday mornings at 9, Bible study. A little after 10:30, Sunday service. Wednesdays at 7, Bible study. Other things going on. And looking forward to hopefully seeing them again. And that's it for that. And of course, we will be back with you on Monday night. We got Ridiculously Raw. 2 huge headlines. Of course, the first big headline, Michael Bullock's idol, The Undertaker, will be on the show to address the big match with Goldberg next week as part of Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. And of course, the other big headline that came out today, Brock Lesnar is going to cash in his Money in the Bank contract on Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. So help me if they take the strap off Rollins, I am going to lose my mind. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, I'm like the Mark Summers here. I'm like hey, how are you? Nice to see you. That's usually the kind of guy I am on average. They strap Lesnar again, that's out the window. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So be warned. And of course, my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling as always. And then Tuesday night or Wednesday, depending on MF's work schedule, we have the Cerebral Smack Talk. And whoa, MF, the big headline coming out of SmackDown Live. You got Bill Goldberg coming.
I know. I'm thoroughly excited. First time ever Bill Goldberg makes an appearance on SmackDown Live. He's never been on SmackDown before, and now he's going to be joining us on the Blue Brand to give his rebuttal to what Undertaker says as it relates to Super Showdown. So, yeah, very excited.
As you should. I mean, that's a big honor for you to have a legend and a Hall of Famer like Bill Goldberg. I mean, that's huge. So, depending on MF's work schedule, either Tuesday or Wednesday, we will have the Cerebral Smack Talk. We will definitely address that without a doubt, and whatever else they have on SmackDown Live. And then, of course, if MF has anything in the Mikey's mindset, I know he'll get into that. And then, of course, next Friday night, back with you for another edition of Strictly Sports. So that's it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Floyer here for Good Old MF, Michael Fletcher. And in spirit, Michael Bullock, Didi Woodson, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, go to Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 and YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, it's me, Floyo, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.